Live?
We're live.
Travis Pollen, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Travis is now a fitness conference speaker. Just did a talk in Washington for high-level trainers, which is awesome. I definitely want to talk to you about that. But he wrote over 150 articles for Schwarzenegger, Testosterone Nation, Personal Training Development. He was even featured in Men's Health. And you did your hair for the podcast. It's looking good, brother.
I had to keep up with you.
I seen you walk in. I was like, damn, Travis did his thing tonight.
I look like a mad scientist most other days. So I like to think that on either extreme, you get me like looking really good. But if I usually look bad, then when I look really good, it makes it look even better.
No, I saw it. What are you doing? The comb over?
Yeah, well, just
Little slap?
A few of these, yeah. Re-wet it after a workout.
Minimal product?
Just a dime's worth.
I used to do hairspray with the hot comb with a blow dryer.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
And brush up. I was getting nervous because like when you spike, if your spike's like unsorted,
you only get one chance.
Yeah, you get an unsorted spike. You only get like 10 seconds to get in there too with hairspray.
Like a unicorn.
Dude, where do you know what we should do? Because for me, like I know bits and pieces of your story.
Sure.
But I was just going to ask you, like, where you get your positivity from. But I think that you should tell your story because it's incredible. And then I just want to learn about, like, your mindset and how you're so positive.
Sure.
Things like that.
So the story goes that I was born missing my left thigh bone. And so I basically had my left knee where my hip should have been. And so I had a foot at the end of that leg, but I had it amputated when I was 3, just for cosmetic reasons to fit into a prosthetic leg. And so from 3 on, I was wearing a prosthetic leg, moving around. My parents said that I was athletic from, when I was a little kid. So started sports when I was really little, played baseball, played basketball, but kind of as I got older, like into my teenage years, I felt like I slowed down relative to my peers. And so it was at that point that I started doing some adaptive sports. I got into hand cycling, I got into rowing, but then when I got to high school, I actually tried out for the swim team. And I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't even know if I would make the team, but it ended up that they didn't have a lot of guys that year, and so I made the team, and then I just fell in love with the sport. Swam for 7 years, swam in college, broke a couple of American records for swimmers missing an arm or a leg. And then after my swim career was over, I knew that I wanted to continue doing something to work with athletes. And so the easiest way to do that was to become a personal trainer. And so after I finished college, I went to MPTI, studied with Barry Fritz, and did my 500-hour diploma and worked as a trainer for a year or so, and then went back to school for my master's, then went back to the gym and worked with athletes at a sports performance facility, and now I'm finally back in school again for the last time working on my PhD in rehab sciences. So that's the story in 2 minutes.
I mean, there's 2 types of people in the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's someone that easily could have the problem that you have and go right down that pity cycle, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many people wake up on a Monday, and just because it's a day of the week, it's going to be a bad day because it's Monday. That's 52 weeks a year that you choose, that you've made the choice to wake up and you're going to have a bad day. You know what I'm saying? And then there's someone like yourself who, you had one leg and you're like, how can I dominate life in every way possible with one leg? Like breaking, you weren't the, best in your high school. You were the former record holder for the 50 and 100 meter freestyle swim for USA. You know what I'm saying? With one leg. So you're like, okay, I have one leg. I'm going to go break that record. Now you've written 150 articles for, fitness. You're speaking at conferences.
The crazy thing though is the first swim practice that I went to, I could barely swim.
Wow.
Like I could float. I wasn't going to drown. But we're doing 200 laps a day, every day. Like
wow.
5-8 times a week if you're doing morning practices. So to go from, barely treading water to then being a Paralympic record holder, like it wasn't easy, but you set goals. First was to just finish a whole practice, and then it was to, get a personal best in the meet, and then looking forward, it was like I'm close to this record, I want to break this record, I want to swim in college, I want to try out for the Paralympics, and just set baby goals along the way towards the ultimate bigger goal.
When did you like get that kind of like I'm a lion mindset? You know, like when were you like, okay, I'm gonna attack?
Probably in my early teenage years.
Why did it happen?
I didn't, to be honest, I just didn't want to be different from anybody else. I wanted to be viewed as a normal kid, and so I did whatever I could to try to fit in. I mean,
growing up must have been different, right?
It was different. I mean, I had different things to think about. Like, I had to go see the prosthetist to make me new artificial legs every year. Or when the leg broke, which it often did, I was there, and you know, I had to go before school, and I would force my parents to get up at the crack of dawn so I could get back to school on time because I'm a nerd. But yeah, it was just about, you know, doing what I had to do from the disability standpoint, and then trying to be as normal as possible and lead as much of a normal life as I could.
Yeah, you deal with adversity in an interesting way, and adversity is interesting in the sense of like you can look at it as a privilege. You know, I look at like the things that I've gone through in my life. Like my parents went through a catastrophic situation, you know, and it forced me to not be able to go through the schooling that I originally wanted to go through, and it led me down the path of becoming, needing to actually go to the National Personal Training Institute with Barry Fritz as well, and meeting you with our mentor Carl Safran, and forced me into doing my passion, because who knows where I'd be if I went, you know, down the system of, you know, going to college. Not that there's anything wrong with that, you know, but I basically would have gone through the normal steps. And because adversity came to me and blessed me with that, I was able to, you know, it kind of led me to the path that I'm at today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally think I wouldn't be here talking to you if I was born with 2 legs, right?
Mm.
Like, as much as it would be cool to squat and deadlift with 2 legs at the same time, which I can't really do, like, everything that happened led me here, and I'm so happy with where I'm at as far as training and writing and school and everything like that. So as much as it sucks to have a disability, like, I also view it as, you know, a blessing.
Right.
Because it just got me here, and it helps me see things the way that I see them and think of things the way that I think of them, because I've always had to adapt things throughout my life.
100%. And, you know, you can channel that pain and sometimes anger or whatever emotion, you know, you can utilize those things. A lot of us look at certain problems or hills in the road or things that come up, and we look at it as roadblocks, but really we can utilize every situation to better us in every single way, and as learning experiences. And then because things are going to continue to come up in life. You know, we have sometimes we have a silly perspective as far as life goes, as though things won't happen. You know, and things are going to happen.
Absolutely.
So how much can you go through? How much can you push? When can you push? Who are you?
Yeah.
You know, defining yourself, I think, is really important. And you can't do that without adversity.
Right, and if you've had that adversity early in your life, when you meet it later in life, you
sure.
have that to rely on.
Yes.
You know, whatever happens, it's not going to be as hard as what I went through growing up, hopefully. I mean,
Of course.
But if it is, like,
You're ready
I've
now.
passed these challenges before, I'll do it again.
Yeah. And that battle testing is extremely important. And I actually like the fact that us as trainers, like, I want more. Give me more problems, you know. Let me try to be more of a solutionist. Let me try to find every way possible that I can get through things, because there are people in my gym that are going through it, man. They're going through some shit. And I know that I can look at them, and you know that you can look at them, and you say, listen, you can get through this. And here's how you can get through it. You can get through it with proper eating. You can get through it with proper sleep. You can get through it with proper training. You know, this lifestyle that we live, you know, is very helpful, very beneficial. And it's a powerful thing. Especially think about someone like yourself that has been through it and goes through it, but you're smart and humble. You know, that smart, humble, been through it type thing. Like, I look at you, I'm like, that's a powerful dude, man. You know? Do you ever get down though?
Yeah, but not like, never for a long period of time. Like, you know, I face adversity and I'm pissed and I complain about it for a day, and then I'm trying to figure out what action steps to take to right the ship.
And what do?
Complain to my girlfriend and then move on. But what else can you do, right?
Right.
So, like, in 2010, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and I was really sick for about 5 years. I had to get my colon removed. But I didn't have a choice, and I could have, you know, stayed home and cried about it, but I tried to stay as active as possible, and that helped, and I tried to change my diet. did what I needed to do to try to lead as normal of a lifestyle as possible. And ultimately, when I had to get surgery and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks and lost 20 pounds, like, it sucked, but and I was down for a while, but I came back.
And you won some of those swim meets with that going on.
I was really sick, the whole time.
So I can't imagine what you would have done if you weren't sick.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, and it's frustrating because who knows what could have been if I had been able to keep weight on and eat more foods and not be chronically sick and inflamed. But
there are a lot of benefits, like single limb training and how popular that is in the gym now. Like utilizing one arm and one leg, for various exercises and
so
ways in which that helps.
Whenever single leg training comes up, I'm always like, every squat I do is on one leg, and every deadlift I do is on one leg. So I love talking about that stuff.
What are the benefits, just so we can explain to some people at home?
So when you typically, a lot of people who we see in a commercial gym, maybe they're doing squats and maybe they're doing deadlifts, but most of the time on 2 legs. And what can happen is you might favor your good side, and that can potentially lead to issues down the road if you overdevelop one side compared to the other. So by doing unilateral training one leg at a time or training one arm at a time, you can't rely on the good or the stronger side to compensate for the weaker side when you're only using the weaker side. So doing one side at a time, maybe doing an extra set for the weaker side, it can just help you balance it out, and it's more quote-unquote functional for activities of daily living, which mostly happen one arm at a time, or one arm or one leg, or the arms doing different things at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, for general population, I mean, a huge joint pain reduction emphasis is put into our single limb training because of the way less stress on the low back, how great it is for firing up like small stabilizing muscles that could prevent knee pain and low back pain. And then especially for athletes, like I look at athletes and, if you can move some weight with 2 legs on the ground, that's great. I want that. But when you can move some weight with 1 leg on the ground, like now you're a beast. And also, like, how often do you play a sport with 2 legs on the ground?
Like, hold on, let me set up for this perfect squat with the bar on my back. No, like in sports, you're gonna have to, your balance is going to be challenged. You're going to be on 1 leg. And so being confident in those movement patterns is really important.
Did it take you some time to figure out the whole balance thing?
I've always had really good balance on my 1 leg because I was basically born with 1 leg and I've been hopping around my whole life. But I've actually had sort of the opposite problem where I got so good and so strong on my long leg that I found that I was underutilizing the muscles on my affected side. And so that, ever since really I went to NPTI, for the last 6 years, I've been trying to figure out what the best exercises are for me to try to work both sides of my body equally. And that's the case with anybody. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to have exercises that are going to be good for them and other exercises that aren't going to be good for them. But it took me a long time to figure that out.
And what are some single leg, single arm, some exercises that people could do?
Single leg glute bridges are a great place to start. Single leg deadlifts, step ups, lateral lunges, crossover step ups, any single leg hops for a plyometric effect.
What about for the upper body?
I like rows, one arm presses. There's so many row variations. One arm ring rows, where you're trying to prevent your body from rotating. Almost anything that you can do with 2 arms or 2 legs, you can do with 1.
Right.
It challenges your balance.
For sure.
To resist.
And the whole workout doesn't have to be 1 arm or 1 leg, but there should be an emphasis to it, to a degree.
Yeah.
You wrote 150 articles?
Yeah. Since 2013. So.
How long does it take to write 1 article?
It depends. It could take a week or a month or an hour.
Jesus.
And funnily enough, sometimes the ones that take an hour are the ones that people like the most, and the ones you work on for a week, nobody cares about. So you just never know. Well, the ones that take longer are generally more scientific, or something that you had to do a little bit of research for, or something maybe you even had writer's block for, and you wanted to get it out, but you had to bang your head against the keyboard a little bit to get it out.
It's hard to do anything for an hour. I don't remember the last time I worked out for an hour. know?
Yeah, and that's why I work out so shorter. I think people have this misconception that you have to be in the gym for an hour,
Right.
and that prevents them from working out sometimes, when really you could do a workout in 10 minutes as long as it's high intensity and get a really good benefit.
We just did before this podcast, you know, we did sled pushes and rope climbs for 10 minutes. So a lot of core, lots of arms, legs, our heart rate went up. We feel great. You said writer's blocks. What happens when you get a writer's block? You know, I was writing my book, and there was times where I was just like, dude, I don't know what to write right now. Or, you know, a lot of people, I think that one thing that you said that really hit home for me was like, you can't just write for yourself. You know what I'm saying? When I was writing my book, there's no way I would have finished that thing if it was for myself. You know what I mean? I already know the information. But when you have people that you're thinking about, or, you know, information that you want to get out there to help others, you know, it's easy to continue to keep going. But if not, man.
Yeah, but think of how much time and how much energy you've invested in studying that. And so you want to get that information out to all of your gym members and even outside that community. So it's not about, oh, I wrote a book.
Right.
Big deal. Like, I wrote a book and 1,000 people read it. Like, that's cool. A lot of people got a lot of good information, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But in terms of writer's block, like, sometimes you do have to walk away and let it kind of stew. And then when you come back, you're in a better state of mind. It just flows. Other times, what I like to do is I tend to try to write from start to finish, which doesn't really work that well all the time. So I'll write different parts. Like, I'll write the end first, and then I'll work in the middle, and then I'll get to the beginning, and then at the end I'll try to piece it all together. But that can help that, I don't know what to start with. We'll start at the end and then work backwards.
Just get flowing a little bit, which is good for the college kids.
Just write,
right?
Even if it's not good, and then fix it later. And like I struggle with that a lot, but it's the right thing to do, because if you get words on the page, at least you're not staring at a blank page.
Did you ever have a breakdown of not being able to get what you wanted on the paper?
Well, yeah, all the time, and it's frustrating. And I think the best strategy is just to leave it for a while, or ask somebody for help. You know, talking about it is really good. Brainstorming with somebody else, going to a whiteboard and just writing your ideas all over the thing. And then you make your outline, and then you go back to it.
So if you're writing for a week or an hour on end, your body must be getting destroyed from saying, I remember writing my book, my hips were killing me, my body felt a way that it never felt from, even when back in my football days, or, even doing jiu-jitsu, like, my body just did not feel the way that it felt after I would sit for 2 hours writing a book.
I've found lately that I've been getting some neck pain and even wrist pain, I guess, from using the mouse this way. I have a harder time rotating my wrist this way. And that's when you realize, when the discomfort sets in, that you should stop sitting or start doing something active. Do a few of these wrist rolls and get your wrists mobilized, or start moving your neck in different directions before the pain sets in, before you realize that you haven't moved for 2 hours.
For sure. Or standing up every 10 minutes, or doing the alphabet with your feet, some calisthenics, just something to get the blood flowing.
You laughed at this, but my girlfriend actually did this before when she had her own office, but she had a kettlebell in her office and she would do 300 swings a day. And if you work in a cubicle, I get it, people are looking at you funny, but why not?
Right.
And you might inspire somebody else.
Right.
Do some push-ups in your cubicle.
You don't have to bring the kettlebell, but you could do something. You know what I mean? Yeah. You could do some push-ups on the thing. You don't have to go to a shopping bag and put 300 pounds of steak in it and do some, shopping bag.
Not that you've ever done that.
Right. But, sometimes the biggest thing is to find ways to train, because we live busy lives, and we have to look at every situation as an opportunity to train. Really, you have to register your mind to that degree, especially if you want to stay in shape. If we're talking 12 months out of the year, and not, you don't have to be in tip-top shape for 12 months out of the year, but if you want to stay in relatively good shape for 12 months out of the year, you better be ready to work out on a picnic table or swing some kettlebells in your office, what I mean? Or go for a walk at lunch.
I just went on a short vacation to Toronto, and the first thing I did was check out the gym in the hotel. I'm that guy who's trying to figure out how he's going to get his workout in on vacation.
Carrying your bags to the airport.
Right. There was a pull-up bar at the gym, and I was super pumped, but I guess I'm a little bit different in that respect. I think a lot of people, when they go on vacation, they just want to chill. But I'm like, let me get my pull-ups in.
What do you do when you're, besides like neck rolls, and what do you think one of the best things that you have someone with desk pain, that's a desk worker, going through some mobility issues, what do you have them do?
I mean, just changing positions frequently is the best thing that you can do. I'm sitting like this now, but maybe I'll sit like this for a little to relax my muscles. I'll slouch. It's okay to slouch. And then maybe I'll lean on my right elbow. Maybe I'll lean on my left elbow. Then maybe I'll get up. So just changing your position is probably the best thing that you can do, and avoid staying in the same position for really long periods of time.
And do you like that band overhead press or bottoms up kettlebell press that you were showing me earlier?
Oh yeah. I mean, anything where you're moving your joints through a full range of motion with load is good.
Mm-hmm. I like a squat to stand, so literally and we could show it in the gym, but literally where you're grabbing your toes, you're sitting your hips down.
Oh yeah.
And really stretching out your
and
chest.
Then reach one arm up at a time and then stand. That's a really nice one.
Thoracic mobility there.
Get a little toe touch in, and then
I've seen Kelly Starrett, they were sitting in those positions for up to like 10 minutes a day.
Oh, the squat? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's impressive. I remember Barry once said that too. You should be able to hold a deep squat. Not like an exercise squat, but just like if you were in an Asian country and you were eating off eating from the floor,
right.
Kind of squat.
Yeah, no coffee tables and couches there. So you gotta and just putting your body in certain positions. You know what I mean? I think is important, like you're saying. Just changing that elbow position.
Yeah, and if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So
100%. So you got into swimming in high school, and then you set the record, and you went into swimming with absolutely you didn't have any idea on form at all or how to swim with no background.
I had swim lessons when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I always enjoyed the water. My neighbor had a pool, so I would swim, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was lucky to have a good coach who showed me how to do it and gave me the drills and took me out of the pool and really spent enough time with me to help me progress. And when you swim every day for 3 months straight, you tend to figure it out. I'm sure I had some glitches at that point, which you're always working on ironing out. But having a good coach was really helpful in being mindful of my technique.
What is your technique? So if you don't mind me asking, because I'm going to do the Wildwood.
So one of my favorite drills is called a catch-up drill.
Yeah.
Not like the kind you put on your head.
Hot dog. Do you do catch-up on your hot dog?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, what do you do?
I do mustard.
No.
I just don't trust people with ketchup on it.
Mustard is good on pretzels, and that's it.
Yeah?
I had a brief phase for a week in high school where I was putting mustard on my turkey sandwiches.
I like
but
that.
I'll never do it again.
No?
I don't know what. I don't like it. I don't know what came up. I don't know what came over me. So, all right, the catch-up drill in swimming is when you have both hands over your head. So this is me swimming, and then I take a stroke with one arm, and then I return it to over my head before taking the stroke with my next arm. So that's a full catch-up drill, and what having your arms over your head does is it forces your feet and hips to ride higher because it counterbalances it. And when your hips ride higher, you're able to swim. You're able to go more smoothly through the water. Because if you let your hips drop, it's almost like you're swimming uphill.
Right.
There's much more resistance.
Right.
So hands in front, and then catch up is this, and then you could do half catch up, which is taking your stroke and then coming to about here, and then starting the next stroke. And that should actually be what your real stroke looks like. Maybe a half catch up or a 3/4 catch up would be like waiting until your recovered arm gets to your head before taking the next stroke.
So you're thinking about getting as long as possible.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah, because you want to get the most distance. So your swimming speed is determined by two things: your distance per stroke and your stroke rate. Same as running, stride length and cadence. So if you can increase your distance per stroke while maintaining your stroke rate, then you're going to go faster. Or if you can keep your distance per stroke the same and increase your stroke rate, then you're going to go faster. Optimally, you can have a high stroke rate and a good distance per stroke. But occasionally what tends to happen is the faster you speed up your arms, you tend to get less distance per stroke. So what you want to think about is that that catch-up drill is a good drill, and then really accelerating your pull. So hold the water slowly at the top and then accelerate to the finish.
So you're almost pushing through the water. Because I do that. I shorten my arms and I start trying to paddle.
Yeah, so you probably the thing that you
Smoother,
want to think
longer.
about is, long and strong
Yeah.
is something like repeat that mantra to yourself, or think about getting long, like distance per stroke.
Slower is faster in this case.
Slower up front, especially, is faster, and then
Yeah.
you can accelerate through.
One thing that's been so interesting to me as I'm training for that the Wildwood Triathlon is how great the pool can be for fat loss. Like when I'm over in LA Fitness, I mean, there's people that are just getting into fitness that are a little overweight right now, starting their fitness journey, and they're utilizing the pool in a very intelligent way, if you ask me. I mean, it's friendly on the joint. Yep.
Yeah, and it's enjoyable. I mean, who doesn't like, unless you're scared of the water, it's nice to be in the water. But especially, actually, as it turns out, if you're more inefficient at something, it's better for fat loss. So the worse swimmer you are, the more you're fighting against yourself, actually, the more calories you're going to burn while you're in the pool.
Interesting.
So once you get really good, it's less effective.
What kind of intervals can people do, like in the pool? What would you say?
So, I mean, a nice easy one would be like to do like down and back, like a 50-yard,
Swimming or running, like running in the pool? Do you like
I
the running
swim.
in the pool? Okay.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a gimmick. But so swim down and back, rest 10 or 20 seconds, repeat. Or you could use the pace clock and try to, like, every minute and a half, I'm going to start a new 50-yard repeat.
Why do you think that it's a gimmick? Because you see a lot of it.
I just remember in college, all of the injured runners would do the running in the pool, and I thought it was kind of funny looking.
Right.
Maybe that's my bias speaking. It's probably a good workout.
Gotcha. So what's next for you?
So I'm working on my dissertation proposal for my PhD. I'm going to be conducting a research study on swimmers, actually, looking at risk factors for injury. So we're going to look at the way that they move on land, the way that they move in water, what their previous injury history is, and what their training exposure is. So
You're going to be like in a lab.
Sort of. We're going to go to them. We're going to take all our measurement tools there, and we're going to screen their movement. We're going to look at their swimming technique, and then we're going to track them over the course of 2 seasons, actually, and see who ends up getting injured and what the relationships are between what we measured and who gets hurt.
Gotcha. Would you mind showing? So we do a lot of when I asked you what your favorite single leg and single arm exercises are. The overhead press and the single leg RDL.
Yeah.
We do a lot of it, but it'd be awesome to have you coach me, and then we could, some people could get different ideas from you.
I gotta say, everyone's saying ketchup, no mustard.
What, on the hot dog?
On the hot dog, ketchup.
No, I don't trust you. I gotta be honest. I trust you.
How can you trust mustard more than ketchup?
It's for years you go and you get a hot dog. You think hot dog mustard.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You start putting ketchup on. Now I'm like, what's going on? I've seen ketchup on a pretzel before.
Ketchup on pretzel's good.
No, I don't agree with that. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to get on one leg and soften the leg of the down, soften the knee of the down leg. And then you're going to reach your back leg behind you as far as you can as you raise your arms up in front of you. Yep. And then come back to standing. And you can put that leg down on the ground. That's fine. It doesn't have to be a balance acrobatic thing.
Right.
So the goal is just to reach the back leg as far as you can. Try to keep your hips square to the floor. The mistake that people tend to make is that they let their toes of the leg that's going up flare out, and that means that their hips are rotating, and they're not actually doing a pure hip hinge. And if you're new to it, you can reach for a wall so that you're not just hanging out in the middle of the gym and you're worried about falling. And then as you get more comfortable with that looks great. You can load it up. You can use kettlebell, dumbbell,
Your freshly painted little spray paint, some logos. You know what I mean, Jack?
Gym is sweet, man. It looks great. So yeah, you can hold 2 kettlebells there. And another mistake that people make is I think that they go down too low. So if you go down all the way and you touch the floor with these, you end up rounding your upper back. And it's not probably going to injure you with light weights like that, but you want to maintain that pretty rigid torso position and not cave over at the top. And you can use 1 kettlebell, you can use 2 kettlebells.
What's your favorite?
I like 1 because one heavy one actually causes your hips to have to work double duty because they have to prevent rotation at the same time as they're extending.
Gotcha. And if I were to add, like, what I would say is, like you said, it's not a balance act, right? So a deadlift is a deadlift, and an RDL is an RDL, so the hips shooting up high while two legs are one. The pattern needs to look the same. And single leg exercises, especially when you're doing, you know, a lunge variation, or in this case, a single leg deadlift, what happens is that sublateral system, so your low back, this portion of your leg, your adductors, and the outside part of your hips fire up. So from a glute training standpoint and hamstring training standpoint, what a phenomenal way to train if you're, you know, someone who wants your hips to go up and out, or if you're an athlete. But again, you know, this is less spinal compression, and it's a great way to get strong on one side of your body at a time. Because if you guys notice, I've been showing you on my left leg. Because right leg, I'm not too dominant, you know? I have way more than
it comes in, you show 2 good reps on the good side, and then you
like this, guys. That's it.
Over the course of the day, yeah.
So,
you want to coach me in the overhead press with the bench?
Sure.
Grab the light one. Oh, he's going for the heavy one.
So now, Trav and I were doing this earlier because we were talking about all the articles that he writes. And so, an exercise that I really like for anybody that's on a computer or doing a lot of texting, or driving even, like rounded shoulder positions and protraction, is the banded overhead press. What this does is it gives distraction to that posterior rotator cuff. And what he's doing is, notice his thumb is up and he's right at his cheek. And we're getting a lot of core here, glutes, but it's really teaching upward and downward rotation of your scapula. See, what happens is when you're on a computer, you lose that ability to really raise your arm up as high as you can. Or when you raise your arm up, you lose core positioning.
So that
right?
would feel like me going like this as I'm doing it.
Or his chest would get tight, and sometimes when people put their arms up, if they haven't done it for a long time, his arm actually could come out somewhere over here. So now we're getting all this to fire up. We're strengthening right here. We're getting core activation. So more so, you know, for some people, this is a resistance training exercise. But for other people, this is an activation exercise. If you're a strong athlete or advanced in the gym, walk into a gym and spend 10 reps just getting that core activated, putting that armpit to the ear.
Even the light band, my shoulder's on fire.
For sure.
The heavier band, I can only do 6 reps, so this is good enough.
Mm-hmm. So you want to wrap it up?
Yep.
What do you think, what would be your main message, if you were to give a message? I usually ask people that before we get done.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think it goes back to adversity, and you know, when you encounter something tough, sure, it's okay and it's normal to get down about it, but don't stay down about it. Reach out to friends for help and ultimately figure out what you got to do to overcome it.
Dude, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. Guys, thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys liked it.